Subversion is the slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. This is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards.
Yep. So that's Yuri Bezmenov and his prophetic words for America and what was being implemented by the KGB and stuff like that.
I don't know if you would need to prove that it's true. I mean, you could see the effects of that.
Yeah. Wow. Unfortunate.
As many kids come out of college the way public universities are nowadays, even some private ones.
Well, if you're just joining us, welcome to the ateasecast. This is I'm Hesco. This is James, and today we got a lot to discuss. A lot has happened in the last couple of weeks.
The last couple of minutes.
Yeah, we got quite a few little things that have happened. So, in local news, I guess. Parts of Maine were being held hostage basically by this crazy man. The shooter from Maine. What's this dude's name? I forgot.
Something Card.
So
Robert Card.
So Robert Card.
He was a Army reservist, according to the local law enforcement up in Maine, near Lewiston, Maine, Lisbon, Maine.
Mm-hmm.
He was a certified firearms instructor for U.S. Army Reserves. I don't remember what job he did in the Army. Bulk fuel. So,
bulk fuel specialist, petroleum specialist.
Yeah. Recently got fired from a recycling center and run on a rampage through a bowling alley and a bar, killing I think up to 18 dead. It was 16 dead yesterday. 18 dead, 13 wounded, and just in the last hour, he has been found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Yep.
So that manhunt is over. Now the political tirade begins with
the fallout.
Every Democrat screaming for the banning of AR-15s, because that's what he used for the shooting, the banning of high-capacity magazines, the banning of anything you can use as a weapon.
Right.
So,
right.
Everybody's going to see that in the next coming weeks. They're going to talk about this. This shooting is the next great proof that guns need to be taken away from the American people.
What it is a proof is how the system fails to take action on these people, because he was identified as a problem person.
Yeah. He had been showing signs and symptoms and making statements akin to schizophrenia.
Yeah, he had been confined to a medical institution, or at least a medical wing of a hospital,
and got released
for a while, and that's normal. So.
For mental health evaluations.
For mental health evaluations, and that's normal. But the thing is that a governmental structure for that state does have the authority. I don't like red flag laws in the way that they've been spoken of in the traditional media, because they've been spoken of as basically your neighbor can say some crazy stuff about you, and then they take your guns and stuff like that. But there is a different type of the same thing. You could still call them red flag laws if you want to, but it's a different procedure altogether that requires adjudication. So that state agency or the feds could have collaborated with local agencies and gotten a mental health warrant for this guy. Mental health warrants can include temporary confiscation of firearms. It don't even require that the state holds the firearms. They could be relinquished to a family member, somebody of trust, until this person gets better. We've executed a couple of those. I have. When I was assigned as mental health officer, I've assisted with a couple of those, and we didn't keep custody of the firearms, but we gave them to the person's closest parents or closest next of kin. Hold on to these while we figure out, while this guy goes through the medical process and gets med compliant and whatever. Right. Once he gets on a treatment plan, he's most definitely get his guns back. It's and it's a and it's not. It's not. So the thing is that there is no absolute way of preventing these things without infringing on people's rights. There just isn't. There's
that's the thing about red flag laws and the arguments against them. You're you're restricting somebody from their right to own a firearm in this country, eliminating their Second Amendment right without being convicted of a crime.
Right.
And I can see the counter argument being due process of law. So you can restrict somebody's right through due process of law, and I think it would apply in a mental health case. We're seeing more and more mental health cases with the rampant use of drugs in this country. Mm-hmm. Mental health becomes a huge factor. Those drugs do deteriorate your mental health. They do break you down. So just because it's a mental health condition due to addiction doesn't mean it's just an addiction issue at this point. Your mental health has been deteriorated through the addiction. So people that are arguing for and against it right now, with as many mental health crises as we've seen personally in our jobs and throughout the country, seeing these shooters that are obviously mental health patients, have been in the past off their meds, now they go nuts. Yeah, you got to have some kind of avenue through due process to restrict their access to weapons. So, but I agree with you with the red flag laws, the way they're being talked about in the media. That's absolutely out of the question. You can't just eliminate somebody's access to weapons just based on a couple of people's.
Right. So where's
the end?
There's a distinction in the procedure. There's just not a distinction in the name.
Yeah.
And once the name is associated, has bad connotations, it's kind of hard to argue for the opposite.
Right.
Like I can sit here and tell you, I'm for red flag laws, and then all the bad connotations that go along with it are what gets associated with what I just said, as opposed to the latter, which is like I am for the temporary confiscation if somebody's in crisis.
Right.
Because crises do pass. And for some people, they pass never to come again. I'm an example of them. I went through my mental health crisis after the war and stuff like that, where I was not feeling good.
Right.
It passed, and I haven't felt like that since.
Right.
It's been many years, decades, I'd say. So, but it's it had, like I said, it's bad connotations to it, I guess this guy frequented that bowling alley quite a bit, and I guess he was a passionate cornhole player, which is one of the sports that they played at bowling alley. Yeah. There was a lot of people that he had. They were his friends. They were just happened not be there that day because there was a different. I guess it was a different bracket for cornhole tournaments, and that day the people that played with him the most were just not present for that leg. So he ended up shooting a bunch of people playing cornhole and just spending time with their friends and family and enjoying themselves. And and this guy just walked in there and Apparently, it was exacerbated by his schizophrenia was exacerbated by his perceived added functions to a hearing aid that he had just gotten recently, which augmented his hearing. He was, I guess, imagining that people were talking about him, like he could hear people talking about him and stuff like that. So this is a person that was clearly disturbed and had insane issues. You know, He was just like, he had a lot of issues, and he had been flagged by his reserve unit as well. Like his reserve unit had already taken some steps. He had been under emergency detention order once before. I mean, at this point, it's just so we're still under the it's hard to. This is why in law enforcement, man, we have these some of these things are there is no gray area. If you say you're gonna kill yourself, even if it's in jest during the course of an argument. We've all had an argument with a special someone and whatever, and it's just kind of like gone sideways, and we're trying to get a rise out of that other person. We said some stuff we didn't mean to say. Sometimes some of these people that they was like, I'm going to kill myself, and if that makes it to my ears as a law enforcement officer, you got to go. Like, I got to take you. Because my operational procedure dictates that you have to go for an eval. It doesn't let you make a choice. It doesn't let me make a choice for you. It doesn't let me articulate that. I mean,
he wasn't serious. He was just kidding.
Oh, he was just kidding and whatever. I mean, it does have some room for that, and there are some exceptions, some clear exceptions. I am trained to do a pretty decent evaluation, so I can do a pretty robust evaluation and establish a plan of attack for these things. But in a lot of times, there is no wiggle room. You gotta go get checked. I don't know. It's just it's unfortunate, man. This guy killed 18 people. He was before he was found dead today. He had already been charged for approximately 8 of those crimes. Yeah. They're waiting on identifying the remainder of the people that perished.
He already had multiple warrants for murder.
I see. Have you seen the video?
No, I've seen photos. That's about it.
It's rough.
Yeah, I bet.
It's rough. I mean, rough. He walks in. He
cold.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, was that the video? Was it the same video? No, I'm thinking of another video.
How many shooting videos do you watch?
I've watched so many. This one I didn't think had a video. No, I'm thinking about.
I'm sure because it has security cam. That's where the photos are coming from. It's from the security cam footage.
No, I'm thinking about the dude from Buffalo that shot the convenience store.
What, a couple months ago?
A while back. Yeah. Like he shot a bunch of black
months
people
ago or something like that.
Like he specifically went to shoot black people.
Yeah.
So that was the video I saw. Sorry. So I apologize. I did not see the video for this guy.
Just casually watching murder videos.
Yeah. It's a pastime of mine. Yeah. Clear. Yeah. It's a so that's done and over with. Now we gotta deal with the fallout.
And like I said, the fallout is going to be the political minutia that's going to come out of this, and it happens every time. It's predictable, which is why I'm saying it. I've already seen the mayor and the governor, the mayor of that town, the governor of the state, like, we need to ban guns and we need to ban high-capacity magazines, and we need to ban this and ban that, and more red flag laws, and implement this, and none of that shit works. I mean, it's been tried in other places. It doesn't work. You can ban every firearm in existence right now. It's not going to get the guns off the streets.
No.
The things police will just go door to door. No, police won't, because police own those guns too. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine a law enforcement agency that would give that order. 2, the officers would actually follow it. It's a gross violation of the Second Amendment. So
yeah, and that goes back to some of the reference back to Yuri Bezmenov. It's all happened before. Mm-hmm. don't be surprised if police are given a crazy order like that and they do follow through with it. It's a thing, man.
It would surprise me.
It would be a surprise.
It would surprise me.
There's the thing is that it's a Herculean task in and of itself. So
if you want to see an actual open revolt by the American people overnight, ban the guns.
yeah,
An open revolt leading into an actual civil war. Ban the guns.
yeah,
You will have an open revolt.
mm-hmm.
People will march on D.C. with their weapons, ready to fight.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure most folks would take a day off work for that.
yeah.
It's a gross violation of
It
a
is.
fundamental right of this country.
Yeah,
The very first 10 amendments, the second one is the right to bear arms.
mm-hmm.
People take that shit seriously. However you want to interpret the Second Amendment, people take the Second Amendment seriously.
Yeah, yeah. It's a thing. Unfortunately, some of these lawmakers up in D.C. they don't seem to see, just like Yuri Bezmenov says.
Yeah.
In spite of all the evidence
Yeah.
placed in front of them, they can't see the answers to make a sensible decision. They can't see past it. In spite of all of it, they'll be like, "Oh well," they still will try, and it's bananas because you can reference a million other things that are illegal that still get done.
Yeah.
Hell, murder's illegal.
Yeah. Still happens all the time.
Still happens a lot, all the time, every day,
Drugs.
every single day.
Drugs are outlawed.
Drugs, it's illegal to possess, illegal to transport,
Yep.
it's illegal. They do it anyways.
Yep.
I mean, it's, and that's the thing. That the only thing you can do is either you want to live in a full authoritarian regime, where
And some people do, and they don't
Some
want to say it,
people- well-
or they don't realize that that's what they want.
well, that's what they want.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of these
Yeah.
liberals want. But and it's unfortunate they don't see that. They don't. I don't understand how they do not see themselves becoming victims immediately, just like everybody else. Because do you think that
Yeah.
by you implementing these things, then you're just going to
You're
sit
going to be
there?
immune to it.
You're just going to sit
Yeah.
there on your perch, like, suck it, people,
That-
and you're not going to be subject
That's,
to.
that's the thing I've said about like being a police officer and dealing with the public in general. There are multitudes of people out there, and a vast majority of people that support police.
Right.
Like, even all this shit you see on the news, it's a stark minority.
Right.
The vast majority of people support police and support what police do. And I joke that, like, yeah, you support the cops until you're the one with the warrant.
Yeah.
And it's true. Well, people are like, oh, yeah, support police, back the blue and everything. I got a warrant for your arrest. Oh, fuck you, pig. Yeah. It's that quick.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, that's funny because that's absolutely true.
It's true.
But I mean, I don't understand. Like, you shouldn't want the government to dictate your every
Right.
waking moment. And
people wanting the federal government to make a step in on this. There are plenty of things the federal government should not and cannot make a decision on. Those are state issues.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that they can't do is the guns thing. The federal government can't make a definitive law banning weapons. They have, because they've been allowed to by the people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate that they were allowed to by the people, like the assault weapons ban.
Mm-hmm.
It's an infringement on the guns. It's
Right.
an infringement on what kind of gun you can possess. You should be able to possess whatever kind of gun you can afford.
Yeah.
I wouldn't classify a nuclear weapon as a firearm.
Right. There's certain limitations.
Now, the Second Amendment says arms. It doesn't distinctly say firearms, but
Right.
I don't make the price of nukes like, I don't know, the GDP of the planet, a couple $1 trillion for one nuke. Good
Yeah.
luck coming up with it.
Yeah, it's it's gonna flood it's gonna flood us now because this anytime something big is happening, we get an active shooter.
Yeah. Happens every time.
And it happens every time. Anytime something huge is about to happen, we get the look what's happening over here.
Right,
look what's
right.
happening over here, while all this other crap is happening on the back end.
Usually in DC.
Yeah, it's
Backdoor voting and
oh yeah, bro. Closed
Committee
sessions
decisions,
and all kinds
yeah.
of committee decisions and nasty stuff happening, and ain't nobody there to protect any one of us. We got a new Speaker of the House.
Yeah. Finally, after what? It was
Like a week or two?
no,
2
it was-
weeks? 3 weeks?
This is about a month or so. It's
Oh.
3 weeks to a month. I'm not
Oh.
tracking exactly how long, but it was a little while. Usually it takes more rounds of voting to do it, but yep. Mike Johnson.
Speaker Mike Johnson.
I think he's what? He's been a representative since 2017
2017, yeah.
from Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, don't know much about him.
All I know so far is that the liberals can't stand him. They hate
Yeah.
him. They hate him.
Oh, this headline that I found. Where did it go? I think it was from ABC. I think they changed the headline as I had it up. It was non-white Democrats are upset that no, that wasn't Mike Johnson. That was the other guy.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll get to that later. My mistake.
Ah, okay. So, then of course, that dummy that pulled the fire alarm, he pled guilty.
I heard he got charged. What did he get charged with?
He pled
It's a
guilty to
misdemeanor.
some misdemeanor.
Yeah.
They're gonna give him like a little fine and some bullshit, and then after he pled, then the video came out of him actually removing emergency exit signs and then pulling the thing and then running away, like
Yeah, he knew what he was doing. Yeah,
like purposefully
yeah, pulling a fire alarm.
pulling a firearm to just
delay a vote.
to delay the vote.
Yeah.
Um,
So you can't make that damn argument. Everybody has seen a fire alarm in a public building. Everybody has seen those handles. They are red boxes that say fire alarm. They are a white T handle that all you got to do is reach in there and pull it down, or like grab it and pull it away from the wall. It's real simple to use. They're specifically made like that so you don't have to use like small motor function skills
Yeah.
to do it. You just grab the damn thing.
right. Does anything else in your surroundings even remotely resembles that?
And
Does another function?
His bullshit statement was like, "Oh, I thought it opened the door." Name a door in that building that is opened by a switch on the wall. Look at there are plenty of images on the inside of the congressional building. They all have handles, doorknobs. It's just like any other office building. Some of the doors are older than most, but it's just like any other office building.
That's all the.
It's not a building at Langley, you know. It's like some like basement at MI6 or something. No, there's no door in that building that is opened by a switch on the wall. Come on, man. Is he talking about like the handicap thing?
That's a.
Yeah, it's a big ass blue push button.
It's a big button. I mean,
Either way you slice it, it's bullshit. He's completely lying, and he got away with it.
of course.
And he got a misdemeanor charge and a fine for the same thing that the January 6th folks got
Are
20
still-
years for.
are still in jail for.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Yeah, some of them are
It's
still in jail waiting trial. The ones that have been convicted got like 17 years, 10 years. It's ridiculous. Kidding me?
Yeah, but that's the.
Same thing.
So I remember when this stuff was first happening, that different levels of justice, when it came to, what liberals get away with and what, conservatives get away with. And I thought that for sure it was kind of like some kind of, jurisdictional considerations or something for, like, there was a way to explain it. And the more I see it, I mean, I can't argue with it. It's just, it's insane to me.
Yeah.
Like, these people will do the same, will commit the same crime, break the same laws, and
They get a slap on the wrist or nothing at all.
yeah. Yeah, we still don't have a Epstein client list. We still
Yeah.
don't know what the hell Ghislaine Maxwell was in jail for. You know,
She was what, convicted for trafficking minors
to no one.
To no one.
apparently. So I mean, we still don't know. We still don't know who visited that island other than that flight log, and nobody's brought freaking Bill Clinton his 26 trips over there to bear.
Or Tom Hanks.
You know, Tom Hanks and all these other people. Tom Hanks, nobody noticed that Tom Hanks just ran to Greece and became
a Greek citizen.
Became a Greek citizen until the freaking
Just in case.
until the heat died down, and then he came back, started pumping out some movies.
He made himself a backup plan.
Yeah. So it's just come on, man. We all know what they were doing in that damn island.
If he ever even gets a whiff, that somebody's going to press charges or get a warrant for him, he's off to Greece.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's so much going on, and in the meantime, you know, you got the former president of the United States being freaking dragged through the coals, having gag orders implemented on him in the middle of a campaign,
$10,000 fines for
fining, and
for just talking about the court staff.
Judges passing freaking summary judgments without any trials to take away his properties and ability to conduct any kind of business. I mean, it's just it's insane.
It's the definition of railroading.
It's insane. How do we get back to neutral, if we ever were there at any point? I mean, how do we get back to that? Like, I think we've gone past.
I think like a lot of things since like 2019. Is that when that virus hit? What's it called?
Yeah, the COVID.
2019.
Which are not giving medical advice to you, for the love of Christ.
We're not, we don't
just
give
talking.
advice.
So,
Can you even mention?
God, yeah, my God.
I think since 2019, since COVID came around, there's no going back. Like with any of this stuff, like politically or socially, any of this shit, there's no going back. Not anymore. It's either going to stop dead or it's just going to continue until it reaches its fruition. And what that is, I have no idea. We can speculate all day long, but we don't know. Like a lot of things when we talk about, some of the things we're just speculating.
Right.
We say it. We're pretty open about it. We don't know.
That's
but we do research. I do research for fun and part of a career. So does he. So.
That's insane, though. I mean, but oh well. So the new speaker's going to have to deal with all the shenanigans that he's got coming for him. He's got. They're about to do the vote. So for the package,
yes.
Was it 100?
When I first heard about it, it was $100 billion. Now it's up to 105, nearly $106 billion. That President Biden.
It's the same guy.
It's the same dude. Yeah.
It's the same dude.
It's the white guy who talks a lot weirder.
Yeah.
It really is the same guy. But President Biden has pressed the Congress to pass a spending bill worth nearly $106 billion to support the Ukraine war, the war in Israel, and says here on Associated Press to the border, which I seriously doubt a dime of it's going to the U.S. border.
Apparently, it's like $18 million going to the border for
probably
the construction of the wall.
Yeah.
How ironic.
Yeah. Talked about that last time. This guy is just accomplishing what the Democrats wouldn't allow Trump to accomplish.
No, he's just basically slapping his name on it, and it's like, look what I did.
Yeah.
It's plagiarism,
which he's known for.
Yeah. Imagine that.
And that's the thing. Like, I'll support the Ukrainians because they were invaded. I'll support Israel because they were attacked openly. But why are we paying for these wars? I know wars are expensive, but why are we paying for them?
I don't
Is it,
understand, man. Look,
I don't get it. I'd like somebody to explain to me why the United States has to pay for these wars.
so it's been a constant. I don't know how to say. Okay, so all right. So here's the deal.
I'm at a loss for words.
So here's the deal. We are on we have been for a long time on a we've been living on a world that does not like to hear people talk straight.
Yeah, you talking about the political correctness?
The political correctness, it's been going on forever. Like this is like since '39 and before. It's always been. So people don't want to hear exactly what it is, and for some reason, maybe it's hive mentality. Like I don't know, they get together and all of a sudden one gets offended because it's a sensible person, and then everybody's like, "Oh, he's right." You know, this is insulting. The reality is that all this stuff is born from the lack of communication. All of it. People don't want to communicate. They don't want to talk. They don't want to say what it actually is. I mean, we're talking about Ukraine. The Russians said at the fall of the wall, and when NATO freaking won the Cold War, don't move 1 inch to the east.
Right.
We have since thrown those words out the window and continuously pushed our presence from NATO closer and closer to Russia ever since. He has said, don't cross this line. Please, don't cross this line. I don't want you guys nowhere near it. Cross the line. All right. Well, here we go. Now, you got a population in Ukraine that considers themselves Russian in the Donbass region.
Right.
They were part of that coup that, they were part of the resistance that was of the old government, the new government that's there now. They resisted.
Right.
The new government sent the Azov battalion to go ahead and dole out justice and bring them back to, bring that fractured part of Ukraine back into the fold. It ended up being a fucking massacre. Nobody talked about that. Them cats went over there and started freaking not only shelling, but started raping and killing. And the first months of that offensive, long before Russia did their massing of the borders, happened during the coup of Ukraine. That battalion, that brigade, ended up doing some pretty heinous shit. The Russians had enough, and they decided to re-annex that part. For whatever reason. That's one of many, many, many reasons.
There's quite a few details that are being skipped over, too, like Putin not even telling his military what's going on.
Well, yeah, but Putin's a dictator, so
true.
There's that.
Well, there's another part, too, like not moving NATO an inch east, according to the Russians. Putin didn't say that. It was the...
No, Putin didn't say it. I said the Russian government.
Right, the Russian government. You're right. Yeah, the Russian government. But here's the thing. NATO is a very lucrative and very appealing unity to be a part of. It's a great organization. It has superior technology to anything in the East. And it has a lot of defense transfers. So, the United States trains everybody in NATO. So does the English. So do the French. So do the Germans. We all go to each other's training schools. I think I was telling you once, you go to Master Gunnery School for tanks in the United States. It was like one of the pinnacle things you could do as an armor soldier in the U.S. Army is go to Master Gunnery School. Master Gunnery School is full of foreigners.
Yeah.
It's in the United States. Master Gunnery School is in the United States. It's a U.S. school, but it's like one of the premier armor schools for everybody. There are Germans there, there are French there are Spanish there are English there, all sorts.
Yeah.
So we all train with each other's militaries. We use each other as OPFOR. It's a very, very beneficial organization to be a part of. So to deny an Eastern Bloc country or a former Soviet satellite country access to NATO just because the Russians don't want it, is that reason enough?
Depends.
You're right, it depends.
Depends on what they're willing to do.
The Russians, we've known for a long time, the the Russians being a paper tiger.
Of
So,
course.
I mean, they bark a lot. They try to boaster a lot, do the macho thing. But, I mean, the Russians really don't have the training or the equipment to stand alone in an all-out fight. They don't.
I mean, they can't finish off Ukraine. So
Right.
there's that.
I mean, just the war in Ukraine alone proves that the Russians, the only weapon that they have that's any kind of value are nuclear weapons.
Yep.
Their aircraft are being shot down quite regularly. Their tanks are being obliterated, and now that they're
they're being impounded by their
they're being
county
impounded
police.
by farmers. Yeah.
County cops over there are just grabbing them things. and
Their
just taking them.
soldiers are not willing to fight in a lot of cases. They're running from the battle. They're surrendering. We've seen all this on the news. Now, we might be getting a skewed view of what's
Right.
actually going on because just the nature of information during war. A lot of it's propaganda. A lot of it's really, really skewed to the audience. So, I mean, Russia, I can't see it as a valid reason to tell an Eastern Bloc country you can't be in NATO because Russia doesn't want us near their borders. When we have a lot to gain by adding new members to the NATO organization, and they have a lot to gain by being added.
So, what they fear is NATO eventually pushing the Russian government off of its current pedestal and implementing a more NATO-friendly governmental structure.
Which they should be afraid
Which
of.
is-
That's NATO's objective.
Well, that's
since the
exactly
beginning.
what they're afraid of, which is why they're telling countries don't join NATO.
Right.
We don't want you to push to the east because we don't want anybody else to influence
Yeah, but Russia has nothing
Well-
to incentivize that statement with, other than war.
war.
Yeah.
And it is where we're at.
Yeah.
So the thing is that if you know that, what benefits does the alliance and NATO gain from adding Ukraine?
Currently, no benefits.
They didn't have any benefits before. So one of the most, if not the most corrupt nation, at least the second most corrupt nation in
Under the former administration, yeah. This administration was too new to make any determination.
right. This administration the jury's still out on them,
Right.
on Zelensky and all them jokers. But
Yeah.
the previous one, I mean,
Yeah, one of the most corrupt
one of
nations on the
one of
planet.
most-
I think the second most
I think
corrupt
it's the
in
second
Europe.
one. Number one being what, Moldova,
I'd say so.
right? So Moldova is a mafia state, basically.
Yeah. From what I understand,
so
it's run by criminal organizations.
so it's so
It's a very small country. Though.
very small.
It's the poorest country in Europe.
So, so there is no real upside other than to spread influence further east, and that threatens
Access to the Black Sea would be
access to the Black Sea. Maybe the fucking
It'd be the biggest asset to
the
NATO.
natural gas in Crimea and whatnot. And I mean,
Are they fully exploiting that though? I mean, I don't even know if they're exploiting it.
beats me, but it's there's not a whole lot of pluses other than geographical influence.
Right.
It's but to the Russian governmental structure, it's a huge no-no.
Right.
So it's a huge no-no because, like you said, in some of the very first episodes, what is the purpose of government?
Yeah.
Yeah, to exist, and they
To
don't
exist,
want to
yeah.
not exist.
Yeah.
And what can stop them from existing? Well, Western influence into their population, and then a backed insurgency within their borders
Yep.
that they would inevitably have to vacate their seats of power or kill all their people,
Or a
which
good
wouldn't
chunk of them.
or which wouldn't work out. So they would have to sue for peace for their own survival, and in the end, they would end up without the goat, without the rope, as they say in Puerto
Right.
Rico. So, that's why they're telling people don't do it. Now, what do we have to gain from adding more nations to NATO? To nothing other than to do exactly what they don't want us to do. NATO's got got some initiatives there that aren't too friendly either.
You also got like the falling and emerging powers. So Russia would be a falling power. China is an emerging power.
Right.
So
but
if NATO
also,
doesn't have an enemy to fight in Russia, they can find an enemy in China.
So NATO is pushing the globalist agenda.
Mhm.
They always have. They're pushing the globalist agenda.
They're hand in hand with the UN.
They're hand in hand with the UN. They're pushing these agendas to go ahead and unify the world under one government, the new world order, all that nonsense that people keep thinking is tinfoil hat stuff.
Oh yeah,
that is actually
it's on the UN website.
It is on the UN website. This is exactly what they want to do, and the Russians are fighting against it.
I think it's hilarious.
I'm not advocating for Vladimir Putin at all. It's I think Vladimir Putin's a despot. He's a criminal, and
certainly he's a tyrant in his own right.
He's a tyrant in his own right.
He's a smart guy.
However,
but yeah, he's a tyrant.
However, you gotta, just like I like listening to leftist podcasts too, just to kind of listen to within all the nonsense, there are things that make you think. So I think that if you pigeonhole yourself into one way of research. One vein of research, you will forever confirm your biases and never really expand your knowledge. So I like
keep yourself in an echo chamber.
Yeah, you create your own echo chamber. So I like to think outside the box. If I want to think outside the box, I got to listen to what the liberals are saying. Yeah, I got to listen to what the other guys are saying.
Right.
I listen to the Young Turks, freaking Cenk Uygur or whatever. He has some pretty shitty ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, he has said some pretty disgusting stuff and some pretty retarded things. I mean, but he has also said a lot of interesting things that made me look into the validity of what he said.
Yeah.
Just the act that what he says creates curiosity. It's enough for me to keep him on my queue, when it comes to looking at podcasts and looking at other influencers, because it made me think. Okay? Or something I've never heard before, or something so wild that you just go like, what?
Right.
Nuh-uh. And then you start looking and we're like, there's some truth to that. And there's some, so NATO's got their demons in their skeletons in their closet, and we'll talk about a little bit about that here in the future here as the podcast keeps rolling. But Speaker Johnson's in for a ride.
Right.
We got the tail end of this administration, which going into the elections, they got majority right now but he's got to unify this House, and he's got to. And the bills that are coming could.
And that's the thing. There's not much known about him. So I mean, which way he's going to lean towards what?
Well, there's quite a bit. There's quite a bit that we just because we don't know specifically.
That's true.
As individuals, there's no way they're going to put some unknown dude as a Speaker of the House.
Well, that's not what I meant though. But I mean, he hasn't been in Congress that long. Like he's been since 2017. So I mean,
he hasn't been. But he has to have an extraordinary personality to be the Speaker of the House, because he's got to whip everybody into a unified body, so they
That's
can do.
What the whips are for too.
I mean, the whip. Each party's got theirs, but he's definitely gonna. He's got to put everybody in the same sheet of music when it comes to at least voting for things. Right. So. The new the new voting that's going to come out, they're going to be voting for this package for the war, and like James said, he is billions and billions of dollars. We're $33.75 trillion in debt.
You want me to look it up?
I mean, you can look it up for specifics.
It updates like live.
To the tune of like 12 million a day, if I'm not mistaken. It's
I don't look at it. It's depressing.
It's
33 trillion.
It's significant.
33 trillion.
Yeah, it's significant. So our deficit is climbing by the day, and we keep selling billions and billions of dollars.
Yep. To foreign governments to fund wars.
To foreign governments to fund wars that are dead end.
That's the thing. Wars are very, very profitable to private companies who manufacture war machines.
Right, but that's our biggest export.
They are not profitable to governments.
No.
That's why, like Britain almost went out of existence because of World War I and World War II. They went broke during World War I, and then they had another war. World War II. What saved them?
Right.
The United States. The United States say you can argue it all you want. I guarantee you I'll bring up a lot more proof. The United States single-handedly saved Britain from extinction, not only from aiding them later on in the war against Germany and Italy, but they aided them with food for their people, with money for the government, with equipment, with people, with everything Britain needed to stay alive. That's what saved Britain, was American financial and industrial support. And it was a lot. Like, I think they just cleared their debt with the United States like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That was the thing on the news. Like, they just cleared it. So, I mean, wars are ridiculously expensive for governments. They are extremely profitable for private companies that make war machines or anything logistically necessary for a war. Medical equipment. All of it. Everything from masks to IVs to surgical equipment to surgical beds and sheets. All that stuff. It all makes money. They're going to buy all they can find. It's like when COVID happened, all the masks went up in price and you couldn't find a mask anywhere because all of them were bought out. A lot of them were bought by government entities.
Yeah, it's a brutal thing that's that we got going on, and the money's going to be allocated towards so many different. What the Republicans are arguing, they want single. They want one subject per bill.
Right. Yeah. That's what they want to make a new House rule. No more omnibus bills.
No more omnibus disasters. They want just one subject per bill that they can all sink their teeth in.
Right.
Because what's happening is that you guys have all heard it before. The bills get rolled into.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's surprising to hear when you get a bill that was say, just for argument's sake, the Inflation Act, the one that was supposed to stop the inflation, which it didn't. It just made it worse. Yeah. But you hear a project that was funded from the Inflation Act, got nothing to do with inflation. It's just so people keep piggybacking on these bills, and you may not agree with that particular part of the bill, but the meat and potatoes of the bill is called something else, and if you vote against it, it's part of your record too.
Right.
So they'll roll in hot button topics to make it bipartisan. So make a bill that'll completely destroy America, but at the same time, the other half of the bill deals with veteran benefits, and if you're a representative from the state of Texas, you're not going to vote against your veterans. It's just not. That's not how it's going to work. Yeah. So
those bills are designed to mislead everybody. They're designed to mislead the people and the people voting for them.
Yeah. So they're trying to put a stop to this. At least on this one. I mean, I think it needs to be a permanent thing, but
I think it should be a rule. I think it should be a congressional rule in the House and the Senate.
Yeah, but we'll see, because they come back into session on Wednesday, and they'll figure out how screwed we are.
Single issue bills.
That's single issue bills. Yeah. So they're gonna allocate. They're gonna allocate some money for Israel. Which
that's the thing. I looked up their GDP, or not the GDP, but their defense spending. Mm-hmm. Defense spending for Israel in 2022 was like $23.5 billion. So with a $106 billion spending bill, and they're going to cut that up between Ukraine and Israel, you can only imagine they're going to try to do it like half and half. So $50 billion to Ukraine and $50 billion to Israel. Israel spent $23 billion on defense in 2022. So we're going to send them twice their defense budget in one go. What sense does that make? It doesn't make sense for us to be sending them any money. We can send them all the support. We've already sent them 2 aircraft carriers, not to mention more than likely special forces on the ground,
right?
And other things, intelligence and surveillance and satellite relocations and all this other shit. So we're supporting Israel about as much as any military can support Israel, but now we're sending them cold hard cash. For what purpose?
I don't understand, man. That's kind of like a question for the Ways and Means Commission or something. It's because
that's going to get asked.
And I don't think there's anybody behind the wheel in that agency. I mean, it's just kind of just probably another Biden appointee.
Who runs the Ways and Means?
It's So money just goes, and it's the accountability of it. But it's the misaccountability of money has been something that's been going on since forever. I mean, how many trillions or how many billions did we lose before 9/11 magically?
What was that number?
It was like 7 billion or something.
I don't know. I remember Rumsfeld saying that. I just don't remember what the figure was.
They lost all that money, and then the next day the towers went down, and and it just so happens that
we can't locate this much money.
Next day the towers went down, and it was like magically almost the same amount as the insurance for the towers. This is just weird. I don't want to get into the weeds on the conspiracy of 9/11. It's just kind of whatever that happens in the past, moving on, but I don't want to get suicided. It's but yeah, I mean, bad accountability of our money is just, I mean, it's something that's been forever going. I mean, we haven't done a daggone an audit of our coffers since 72.
Yeah, you can't audit the Federal Reserve. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Why can't you do it? You can't.
You can't.
You just can't.
So why not? Because no.
I tried to listen. There was a woman, I think.
That's your first problem.
Whatever. I think Patrick Bet-David was interviewing a woman and asking her, because she was a financier. She used to work Federal Reserve, and now she does something else. Whatever. He was doing an interview with her, and I was trying to listen to her explain, because he asked her directly who owns the Federal Reserve, and then she tried to explain that. I have no idea. No idea.
Yeah, I mean.
I encourage you to try to listen to it yourself and tell me who owns the Federal Reserve. Private banks is about the best I can get you.
Israel.
Maybe.
The Orthodox Jews from the Rothschilds. That's who owns it. I'm pretty sure. That's why we're coming out of pocket heavily, in spite of the precipice of World War III.
Yeah, that's coming. There goes a whole conspiracy thing too. Like if we spark off World War III, there are contingencies where the U.S. government can suspend an election because of a serious emergency, and that would be one of the things needed. It can happen. Mm-hmm. Suspend the election and keep Biden in office for an indefinite amount of time, or until the crisis is over. Yeah,
they got problems. Because they're not. The Democrats don't want Biden anymore. They sure as heck don't want Kamala Harris in there for anything.
Yeah. Heartbeat away from being president of the United States is the biggest moron I've ever seen as a vice president.
And then for sure they're not going to
we had a female vice president. You couldn't pick one better than that?
If something like that would happen, they would definitely they'll retire Joe. Kamala would not get. They would have to ask her to move on, and the Speaker of the House is Republican. They're not going to go for that, so they would have to do a special something to get somebody else in there. Man, it's a disaster. I don't think extending the term due to time of war would be prudent for them.
No,
it just doesn't work in their favor either. They actually got more to win by just going straight to the election.
Well, yeah, I'd say so.
They got better chances. And
on that note, there actually is somebody challenging it.
Oh yeah.
This guy named Dean Phillips. I don't know a damn thing about him other than he's a Democrat. He's from Minnesota.
Good.
He's a representative.
Good.
From Minnesota, he is a Democrat. He just announced his candidacy for president of the United States. He is running for the Democrat nomination. He even says it's a last-minute thing, but he believes it is absolutely necessary because of what everybody is seeing in Biden. He is extremely old. His mind is going, if not gone.
It's gone.
He can barely talk.
Yeah.
I mean, he is an inept guy. I think this guy is 53 years old. Biden's like, what, 81?
Right.
81, 82 now?
Robert F. Kennedy declared independent, so he's out of the Democrat.
Yeah, he's out of the Democrat thing.
And
So-
Gavin Newsom's still dealing with Xi Jinping in China, so he's lining up his ducks. Why is the governor of California talking to the president of China?
That's a common thing. The governor of Texas talks to the president of China as well. Most governors have
At China?
Not in China. No,
That's where he's
No,
at.
they usually talk at the embassy. That's in.
Shaking hands and stuff on
I
TV.
don't know what the hell he's doing in Beijing, but no, usually that's not typical as far as I know.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I meant what I was going to say is like most state governments have international, international liaisons. They have a Department of State. The Texas Department of State. I remember I met the guy that ran it back in 2015. He was a tool, but I don't even remember what his name was. He was the first person I ever heard talk about like he ran for office as a Democrat and lost, and then the next time it came up, he ran as a Republican and won. And the only reason he switched was to win the race. It's like you be unscrupulous little fuck. Okay.
Yeah, well played, sir.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, most state governments have an international office.
Well, so
that does, but him being in Beijing does surprise me. That they usually, I don't hear about that too often. That he flew to Beijing to shake hands with Xi Jinping.
look it
So
up.
the governor of California with the president, with the chairman of China.
Yeah, look it up. He's got his entire state's on fire. Half is on fire, and the rest is covered by freaking poop. And
Well, the big cities anyway. Yeah, your rural areas are burning to the ground, and your major cities are overrun with filth.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
but
21 hours ago, I was in China.
mhm.
So he's been there for like 3 days.
Yeah, of course.
California Governor Gavin Newsom meets with Chinese president.
Yeah, he's campaigning.
He's campaigning.
Yeah, he is. He is. If you don't think for 1 second that the Chinese are funneling money into some super PAC that he's got, or some freaking association that he's got,
I have no doubt. It happens all the time.
Happens all the time. They all do it to an extent. So
I love it when I hear like there was I think a DOS representative, a Department of State representative was saying like, oh, we don't interfere with other countries' elections.
Rob.
Bullshit. We do all the time. Other countries interfere with our elections all the time. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that.
Blatantly lie.
Yeah, it's like we don't interfere with other people's elections. It's like get the
we
fuck
do.
out of shut the door. It's like
Of course we do.
do that. Damn near is our best export.
We have like entire departments that are dedicated to that.
We have military units dedicated to freeing the oppressed.
The oppressor liberator.
And the oppressed is who we say is oppressed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we'll send 13 of our sneakiest boys down there freaking.
And they are good at what they do.
They're really good at what they do.
Really good at it.
You know, so yeah, it's I tell you, man. Yeah, don't get me going.
But yeah, look up Dean Phillips. He's running for Democrat nomination. Democrats are pissed at him. That was the, I tried to mention earlier. This headline is from ABC News.
Yeah.
Non-white Democrats upset as Dean Phillips is expected to launch challenge to Biden in New Hampshire.
Good.
Of course.
Good. That takes balls, man.
It does, yeah. I mean, I don't know much about the guy's platform. I try not to be one side or the other politically, but
Right.
I don't know anything about this guy's platform. Right now, the way things are, I can't see myself voting for a Democrat for pretty much any reason. But yeah, it's good. It's good that he's actually stepping up and putting his name in the hat to try to get the Democrat nomination. He's not likely to get it, and he knows that. He's even saying like this is a last minute thing. I know, but the way Biden is,
That's what I was saying about the difference between not liking something and being intolerant.
right?
He figured he wants to put his money where his mouth is, even facing defeat. He knows he's facing defeat.
Yeah.
He knows he's probably not going to get the nomination.
Yeah.
But he's making a point.
Yeah.
He's stirring the pot. And that's good on him, man. I may not ever.
With all the gaps that Biden has been, I mean, on the face, the guy is clearly mentally deficient. I mean, you can't make an argument that this guy is fully there with everything that he said in front of a mic. And the more recent one with this photo being released, the White House. Now, I don't blame Biden for this specifically, but I mean, it's his presidency. He's ultimately responsible for everything that goes on. The White House posted a photo of U.S. Special Operations personnel unfiltered on their faces. These, that's one of those. That's like releasing names of CIA agents that are embedded.
It's happened.
It's happened before, yeah. But these kind of guys, especially what they're saying, that these guys are Delta. Mm-hmm. Like they're not normal U.S. Army Special Forces. They're not like 5th Group or something like that. Mm-hmm. These guys are CAG.
Yeah.
And they released an unfiltered image of these guys' faces. They're in full kit. They're in D.C. They're shaking hands with the president backstage after the president was done talking somewhere. And the White House, whoever runs their media or press secretary or whatever, I doubt the press secretary had anything to do with it. But whoever runs their media posted this picture on the White House like Twitter page, unfiltered. Now they removed it and then put it back up with filters on. But I mean, damage is done once it's on the internet once. I mean, somebody's constantly recording everything that you're putting on that Twitter page. So, just these kind of gaps, these silly little mistakes that, yeah.
Yeah, it's just tone deaf, man. It's just tone deaf. It's just like we're talking about Gaza and all this other stuff, and a lot of people are talking about how heavy-handed the Israelis are being with the Palestinians, and they're saying that it's a genocide and all these protests. I mean, hundreds of thousands of Americans and people all over all over the world demonstrating against the perceived genocide from Palestine in the Gaza area. Reality is that we really don't have any figures of any of this stuff other than what Hamas has given us. All of the propaganda, for the most part, is coming from the Hamas side. Mm-hmm. The Israelis they're not really punching out a whole lot of news on that, and if they are, it's being throttled by the media outlets. They don't. Just like the other day, the Hamas released 2 85-year-old grandmas that they had in custody. They released them to Red Crescent, and apparently they were treated exceedingly well, and they were in good health and good spirits, and they've been medicated and all this other stuff. And people are praising Hamas for the treatment of these ladies. I was like, why the fuck were they in custody to begin with? Right. These are 2 grandmas that's sitting there watching novellas. Yeah. Watching their stories, sitting in their houses, and now these freaking crazy terrorists freaking took them hostage, and now the praise is that they were released unharmed and all this stuff. They shouldn't have been taken to begin with.
Right. Hamas is not a state actor.
I said they shouldn't have been taken to begin with. Right. These 2 ladies were chilling, and now they're hostages. Why were they? You're missing the point.
Right.
Yeah, they were released. That's fine. A lot of people weren't though, and the problem is that there's a misunderstanding of what it takes tactically to get rid of a subversive element like that embedded in the in the populace, which is why Israel sent all these freaking leaflets informing people they need to get the heck out of there. There's a reason for that, because once the infantry goes in, it's going to be very hard to tell the bad guys from the good guys.
That's right.
It's going to be very difficult to tell the bad guys from the good guys. As a person that's fought an insurgency war, I was part of it when I was in the military. I've dealt with it as a subcontractor. Yeah. You dealt with it. I dealt with it on the ground pound set level, having to separate the wheat from the chaff with my hands, like actually wade through crowds of people and deal with insurgents and crowds of people and dealing with crazy markets and stuff like that. It creates an issue. That's why those leaflets that you talking about, all these civilians dying, there's a reason for that. It's a free fire zone now. Mm-hmm. They have made that place a free fire zone.
We did the same thing in Fallujah in 04.
Absolutely.
Dropped leaflets over Fallujah for like 2 weeks before we hit the city.
Absolutely.
And I think the leaflets, I think I had one at one point.
It's hard. it's hard to split the good guys and the bad guys there, and a lot of the killing is also being done by Hamas. Hamas is martyring their own people. It's gonna take a leader to stand in front of the world and just say exactly what needs to be said. One of them is enough of the fighting from everybody. Another thing is these people can't behave and they can't play well with others. And I'm gonna tell you that the Palestinian Hamas charter is all the proof that one needs. The declaration of their charter that basically lines up exactly with their ideals and makes enemies out of everyone that doesn't freaking live there and doesn't follow their ideology is a problem at the world scale. At a world scale. You can't sit there and tell me that if we're neighbors and my declaration for living here says that I have to kill you. How the hell are we going to live together?
Right.
How is that even possible? You threaten my life. Like, your objective is to get rid of me at all costs. How are we going to coexist? There is no two-state solution in Israel. There ain't never going to be one.
No, there can't be.
For one,
Yeah.
to the victor goes the spoils.
See,
There's a clear thing here that happens in warfare that has always happened. The more powerful nation, the more powerful military wins. It may be super unfortunate for those caught underfoot.
Right.
But that's the way of warfare. It's the way it's always been since the beginning of time. An army marches. They take hostages. They take freaking prisoners of war. They enslave the population. It's happened. Mm-hmm. We may not have that now, but what you're going to have is a lot of dead bodies and no Palestinians. That's what's going to happen. And everybody's going to have to freaking find a way to reconcile with that, because that's how war is done in its most primal. Now, there's a lot of pundits out there that are pointing out the laws of armed conflict and the LOAC, and all this other stuff. And according to the LOAC, this is fucked. This is fucked because there's a lot of casualties of civilians. Mm-hmm. Alleged, the ones that are indisputable.
See, that's the thing that goes by. Like, you can't distinguish the bad guys from the good guys.
The only ones that I can distinguish are the little kids. Little kids. But the little kids. Here's the thing with any. Coming from the law enforcement side, from a law enforcement perspective, I find a dead body. I got to find out who did it and try to find a mechanism of injury. Try to find out what led to this person's death.
Right.
We've seen this in smaller scales in the United States when everybody with the hands up, don't shoot movement. Mm-hmm. Everybody's saying that Michael Brown was saying don't shoot and all this other stuff, and that cop shot him anyways. That did not happen. Right. And there was a bunch of people saying that song and dance about Michael Brown was a good boy. Still saying it. They believe it. In spite of empirical evidence to the contrary, just like our friend Yuri over there said in the beginning of the top of the hour, they don't see it. They will not see reason. So there is not a definitive investigation being done on any of this, and there's not going to be until it's over. You can't cast judgment on either side other than one side for sure 100% started it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We got to figure out where to put these Palestinians that ain't gonna bother nobody. Yeah. I don't know, because unless they change their charter.
Yeah, and that's the thing about a two-state solution. That's an idealistic result from foreigners, people who don't live anywhere near Israel. Mm-hmm. Oh, let's make a two-state solution. The Palestinians won't have that. No,
there was never. They don't have rights to any land there to begin with. It wasn't theirs to begin with. Wasn't it was it the?
It depends on how far back in history you want to go.
So maybe Turkey can take the remnants of their Ottoman Empire back with them. Because right, I'm just saying, because that's what Palestinians are. So
the thing is, it all depends on how far back in history you want to go.
Yeah.
I mean,
there shouldn't be. There's a mosque in Temple Mount. I mean,
yeah.
Why?
Former site of the Palace of David. Yeah.
Yeah, why? Don't make any sense to me. However, here we are. And you got people holding signs that says queers for Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
Holy dog shit. Are you kidding me? People got to realize that what they should be advocating is for the recognition that those guys aren't like the Arabs that are here next to me and next to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, those dudes are bonkers. These other guys, let's make sure we keep our neighbors that are with us, that have integrated themselves to society and done something of themselves. Let's keep these people safe because they're worth something. These other cats that are out there freaking causing chaos and mayhem.
Even over there, it's such a minority. There are still
protests.
There are still Muslims in Israel that, even during this attack, were protecting Israelis. There was a story I was listening to. This lady was talking at the UN, and she was telling a story about this man who's a Muslim man. He was a groundskeeper at that music festival thing, and he had a building that he worked out of. And a lot of these Israeli kids and kids from everywhere else, a lot of these Jewish kids, came into that building to seek shelter because they were being attacked by people with guns. And this guy, this Muslim man, hurried as many people as he could into the building, and then when the Hamas terrorists came by, he went outside to talk to them and told them, "It's like, look, everybody in there is my family. We're Muslims. You don't need to be here. Just keep going. Everybody inside is my family, and we're Muslims." Well, they beat the shit out of him, and they went inside everywhere and grabbed a lot of those kids, or I think either all of them or shot some of them. I don't know.
Right.
But end of the day, they beat the shit out of that guy for lying to him. They didn't kill him, but they beat the shit out of him. Still a great guy, great bravery, and a great heart to try to save as many of these kids as he could by going out there and telling them, it's like, look, we're all Muslims. You just go on down the road. We're all Muslims in here, trying to save these kids. And
shit don't make no sense, man.
Yeah,
shit don't make no sense. It's and then so a lot of people are saying, well, you send. So they the thing is that people that don't know about warfare are making videos and publishing comments on the best way to eradicate Hamas in a tactical sense, when they have zero experience on how this cookie crumbles, man.
On insurgency warfare,
Of
warfare in general.
course. Patrick Bet David has some broad over there talking freaking 10 kinds of nonsense, and she freaking raised hell, and they were all that stuff got heated in that podcast, and she was talking about you send spec ops, and blah blah blah. Like, okay, look, there's a limit to what special operations can do.
Right.
All in all, special operations operators are still human.
Yeah.
They have the same. They don't have cybernetic augmentations. This ain't a fucking video game. They have the same eyeball that you got, same eyeball I got. They're far better trained than the latter, but than the average Joe. However,
and they got assets to back them up.
They still got this to tell that they try to find a difference between good guys and the bad guys. If they're all intermingled, it's a problem. And if you got bad guys shielding themselves with good people, you're not gonna sit there and take fire from those people, because what they want you to do is leave.
Yeah.
What they want you to do is leave, so they can hit you so they can attack again later, which is what's always happened in Gaza and in the West Bank. They get to a certain point, the international community goes up in arms. They say stop. They put a full stop on that war. They build more checkpoints, and then they back off, only to have some dude touch off IED vest on a freaking public bus.
Right.
It's all just basically prolonging the inevitable. They're going to continue to attack you. Why? Because it's in their charter. It's in their operational procedure. This is what their purpose is.
Yeah.
Their purpose is not to be economically viable, to be a progressive economically and put out a national gross product that the world can enjoy. It's not like they got massive farms of freaking dates and or coffee or anything. They're not exporting anything. They're terror. That's it. That's it. The eradication of the Jews is the only purpose they have in that area. It's insane. Yeah. Until that stops, that ain't never going to stop. And the Israelis have seized an opportunity to eradicate them and just be rid of them. So I know a lot of the things that I've said are highly unpopular with the public perception.
Yeah, of course.
Thing is that we've all run into somebody that we can't stand.
Today?
I mean, we've all run into that one person that we can't stand. We all have that one person that we just cannot stand. We cannot be around them. We can't. It's happened.
Yeah.
And in this situation, you got people that can't stand each other that are sandwiched into this plot of land, and the bigger one's gonna win. The world's got to realize that this is happening. Yeah. Now, how do we move past this? Because it's happening. It's gonna happen. They're gonna push these people into the ocean.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know why people don't understand that. It's like Israel is a powerhouse that shouldn't be.
Right.
It should not be as powerful as it is. It is fucking powerful. Their military is top tier.
Yeah.
They have a top tier military force and a top tier intelligence service.
Unless you get them in the forest, and they're screwed.
Well, that's the thing. They mold their entire military to serve just them. They don't export their soldiers.
They can't.
Because they are trained specifically to fight where they are.
Yeah, exactly. They can't. They'd be useless.
And they're very, very good at it.
They'd be useless in North Carolina. We chew them up.
Probably.
We chew them fuckers up in Pineland. Pineland will eat them dudes raw. But, I mean, it's a... thing is that the reality is that we are now experiencing through the advancements in technology, warfare at your doorstep.
Yeah, live on TV.
Live on TV. However, another thing you're not experiencing, there's been a massacre and a genocide happening in Burma, formerly known as Burma and Myanmar, since 2021. Burmese military threw a coup down there, a military coup in 2021, and they ain't never looked back. And a democratically elected government in that country got taken over, and they've been killing people and slaughtering each other for years. For years. Human Rights has published reports. They have published so much stuff. And, I mean, there are over 20,000 political prisoners in Myanmar right now. Ain't not one demonstrator in the United States
saying a damn thing
about these people. Not one demonstrator. Ain't not one queer, not one transvestite, or whatever the hell they want to call themselves. Not one furry out there with a freaking butt plug with a tail, freaking saying shit about the genocide in Myanmar.
Right.
That military coup that's been killing people by the bushel. They've been slaughtering folks. This created a humanitarian problem where people have poured into other countries, and all these other countries are freaking drowning with freaking refugees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The people are running for the hills over there, and they've been getting killed with all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm talking about like getting fuel dropped on them, getting burned alive, getting macheted to death. It's been freaking bonkers.
Yeah.
For years. Nobody's talking about that. So, pick your causes wisely.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, before you lean on one cause and the genocide of this, the genocide of that. Yeah, go look around the world. Take a look. See that Israel ain't the only place that's suffering.
Right.
So, you take one trip down in Africa, and I'm sure you'll come out with some stories. But
I could talk about the refugee thing in Israel too, which is pretty sad. I think maybe next time.
Well, I mean, they got problems with the borders down there. I mean, it's
There's a reason why you're not seeing a mass exodus of Palestinians into other countries.
Well, yeah, the borders are closed.
nobody will take them.
Nobody will take them. Well, they can't afford it. So they're making the decisions that our government won't make. So they see so the Egyptians
close their border.
Close the border. They had to, because they were looking at absorbing close to 200,000 refugees at least into their economy.
The number was higher,
it was way higher than that. I'm sure. I'm probably being I'm paraphrasing, or probably being a little conservative with my numbers, but they couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
They looked at the cost. They did a cost analysis on what would cost to house, feed, and freaking maintain these people safe, and they could not do it.
Right.
So, those are the problems that I got with where money goes.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, well, if you're gonna allocate money, but throw some money on the Egyptian side so they can freaking feed and house the refugees. That'll alleviate some of the slaughter that's about to happen. But I mean, we got to talk to Mr. Rothschilds and the Rothschilds for that. I mean, they're the ones, I mean, whoever is up there, it's just it's bonkers, man. It's bonkers. But we need somebody to fucking just put a stop to this whole fucking thing.
That's the thing. If you do find a leader that's able to stand up to these countries and say, "Hey, enough is enough,"
it's the domino effect, man.
You're going to need leaders of those countries that are willing to listen.
It's the domino effect, man. Because this continues, then some of these countries by ideology are going to be forced to intervene. If they intervene, we intervene.
Right. And it sparks off World War III.
It sparks off fucking World War III because Russia backs up Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Turkey backs up the Palestinians and Lebanese. Egypt backs up the Palestinians. Jordan backs up Egypt. It's
right. It gets into a mess.
And that domino effect, the dominoes will keep falling, and it'll create a conflict that we won't be able to get out of no time soon. And we need somebody that's going to be able to bring everybody to the table, put a whole stop to this stuff, or mitigate the domino effect. It's this looks bad.
There's quite a few people saying
Russia's pulling out of that. They're pulling out of that nuclear agreement.
I heard about that. It was earlier this month. Mm-hmm. The Russians pulled out of their the nuclear test agreement.
Nuclear test agreement. Yeah. So they're going to expand their.
And I heard just a day or two ago that they are starting to train their military to react to nuclear threats.
They're doing drills. I mean, they're training as they should. They should always be training. But we do all the time. But I mean, all in all, man, world's on fire again. Yeah. I mean, it's been burning since the world's been turning. Yeah, whatever. I mean, you guys pay attention, do your research, look into some of these things. I'll put some links on there on the description of the video, but don't forget, like and subscribe, and follow us on all the major platforms. We're on Facebook, X, Rumble, and YouTube, of course. The subscriptions and the likes on the videos really do help the algorithms and help push our content. I mean, we get throttled quite a bit and demonetized and all that other nonsense because of the content of our channel, but if you guys like what we're saying, you want to put suggestions, make comments and whatnot, we read them.
Yep.
So hit us up, and don't forget, we're also on RSS, and we're going to try to push on Patreon and some of these other platforms to try to get a bigger footprint for our channel and just keep exponentially growing it, as best as we can.
We'll try to.
So
we appreciate all our subscribers.
Yeah, we appreciate all the subscriptions and
thank you.
All the comments and stuff like that. Everything is super constructive. I like it. Just and even if you're mean, I don't care. I like reading it anyways.
Yeah. That's why I open everything that we post to at least the YouTube channel is open for all comments. It doesn't.
Oh yeah. We're not gonna do like some of these.
Because if you ever posted a video to YouTube, it has an option. It's like, you want to reserve some comments because they might be offensive. No, all comments.
Let them rip. Let them rip. We don't care. It's fine. If you gotta say something, you gotta say it. So. And if we're wrong about something, say it. Yeah. Say it. We don't care. We'll correct it. it's no big deal. We're all a big family here, try to get all this information out. But
Been wrong before. Ain't gonna be the last time.
but yeah, so and that's what I got for this week, man. Be good. Nothing else, man. All right, fellas. See you guys in a few weeks, and keep an eye out for the shorts. All right, so bye.